Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the UWC application process. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to split it up in two parts, each one corresponding to one section of the UWC USA application process. So I will be talking about the UWC USA application process, just because that's the one that I applied through. Other countries' application processes will differ depending on which country you're applying through. So I know my friends in Germany, they had like 2 rounds that they had to go through with their application, and my friends in Mexico had 6. So if you'd like to know more about your own country's application process, I'd highly recommend that you try to find somebody who applied through that country, or someone who goes to UWC from that country, and ask them. There are 2 ways to apply to UWC just in general. There is the National Committee, and then there's the Global Selection Committee. If you would like to receive any scholarship or financial aid, apply through your National Committee. The Global Selection Committee is reserved for people who are able to pay their tuition fees, their flight fees, any academic things that they need or want up front, so you don't receive any help from the school. But if you'd like to receive any financial aid or scholarship money, apply to your National Committee. That's what I did, and that's what most other students did. So UWC USA has this very nice program called the UWC Davis Scholar Program. And basically what that means is that a select number of students are chosen every year to receive $25,000 each year that they study at a UWC to go towards their tuition. Do keep in mind that if you are selected to be a UWC Davis Scholar, if you do not qualify for financial aid, your family will have to pay the difference between the $25,000 and the tuition cost of the UWC that you're selected for. So there are some UWCs that are covered by the $25,000, and there are some that aren't. So for example, my school is not, so my family has to make up the difference between the $25,000 and the actual tuition cost for UWC Costa Rica. So with that aside, let's get into the actual application process. So UWC has 3 rounds. The first round is the written application process. And the written application process opens up, I'd like to say it opens up in July. And they have early deadlines and regular deadlines. So early deadlines is, last year for me it was October 15th, and then normal deadlines, I'm sorry, I have the application right here. Normal deadlines was December 1st. So the difference between early and regular deadlines is just with early deadlines, you'd showcase that you're dedicated to applying to UWC early on, that you're like very committed to it, and you'll also hear your results back if you move on to the interview round earlier. So I sent in my application October 15th, and I heard back from the school November 15th. That was very useful, kind of made me less nervous. I don't really believe that it affects your application or your admissions, but don't take my word for it. Anyways, so if you do go for the early deadlines, do not do what I did. Do not leave yourself a month to complete your entire application, because you will have some time-sensitive things that you need to get done, and it's just very stressful overall. So the application is split up into different sections. So you have to go to the UWC USA application page, and you'll have to create an account, and then it'll give you access to your application. The first part will ask you about basic things about yourself. So your full legal name, your gender identity, your legal gender, preferred pronouns, your birthday, if you're a citizen of any other country other than the United States, a photo of your passport, languages that you speak at home, languages that you know. So all of that will, you'll have to answer that. And then the second part will just ask, where you've lived, your school, your GPA weighting grade, your class size, how to contact your school, And then from then, it'll ask you about your parents, if your parents, what their jobs are, who to contact first in case of an emergency, your parents' education, what do they live with you or not. So just really to get to know you, your family, who you are. They also ask you about your siblings if you have any. I luckily did not have to do a resume. I didn't have to submit a resume. But UWC USA has you make kind of your own resume within the application. So you have to put down hobbies that you've done, activities that you do, volunteer work that you've done. They also make you put down any clubs that you were a part of. So for example, I was a part of a lot of clubs and I had a leadership position in a few. So I would put down the club and then what we did and then my leadership position. Same thing for my extracurriculars and my hobbies. Any accomplishments that you've done, put them on there. You only have 5 slots though, so pick and choose your best ones and put them on the field that they ask you for. The reason why I say don't leave your application off until the last minute is because you are going to be asked for recommendations from teachers and people of authority or leadership in any extracurriculars that you did. So you have to get 3, 1 from your guidance counselor, 1 from a teacher from your school, and then 1 from the leader of an extracurricular activity that you do. And so I chose my fencing coach, my biology teacher from freshman year, and then my mentor or my advisor as my guidance counselor. And I'll get into why I chose her as that. But just as a general rule of thumb, when you're asking for recommendation letters from people, always give them enough time to ask them, for them to write it, and then for them to send it back to you. And also, if you have a deadline, tell them the deadline is a week before the actual deadline. So it gives you a bit of fallback on if anything goes wrong or if you need something else from them. The reason why you want to give them enough time is because they are doing you a huge favor by writing you a letter of recommendation, and you want that letter of recommendation to be the best that it can be. So just giving them enough time to write it and send it back to you is always nice. I had to get a recommendation from my guidance counselor, and like many schools in the United States, my school is required to have a guidance counselor, but my guidance counselor is in charge of like 250 students. So I felt like she wasn't going to provide me with the best letter of recommendation. She'd probably provide me with a very generic one stating my accomplishments, but not one that would feel personal and would really highlight who I am. So I chose my mentor to write my letter of recommendation in place of my guidance counselor, just because she knew me as a student and she knew me as a person. So she had me in her advisory freshman year, as well as sophomore year, and then in sophomore year she had me in her math class. So I felt like she was the best person to write my letter, and we just explained to the school why she was writing my letter for me. And it worked. So, I mean, if you have the chance to do that, I'd recommend that you do that, just because it adds more of a personal touch to your recommendation letter. And then after the recommendation letters, they're going to ask you to do short answer questions and then 1 long answer question. So there are 3 short answer questions and 1 long answer question. The short answer questions, they're going to give you a prompt. You do have a word limit, so keep that in mind. And then the long answer question, you also have a word limit, but you can choose from 3 prompts. And this is also just a general good rule of thumb. Whenever you have to write something for an application, especially if it's on a website or on like a third-party site, always put your text, whatever you're writing in, into a separate document, whether it be like a Word doc, Google Doc, Notes app, anything where somebody could go in and edit it easily without accidentally submitting the application. Because I've done that before. It's never fun. You have to like email the school or whatever and ask them, hey, I accidentally submitted my application. Could you possibly turn it back to me so I can finish completing it? And it's just a big hassle. So always put your text into a different document and then edit it, revise it, finalize it, and then copy and paste it into your final document. So that's the written application. The final part will ask you to identify anything that will set you apart from the rest of the applicants. Use this to your advantage. That is all I can say. Use this to your advantage. It will give you prompts such as, just tell us who you are, who your family is. Is your family multicultural? Do you speak different languages at home? Are you from a different country? Use that to your advantage. They want to know how you can add to UWC, what you will contribute to the UWC community. And UWC really prides itself on its diversity. So anything that you can add to the UWC diversity pool, or anything that you can offer up from yourself, put that into that box. And then lastly, you have to sign your name and say everything I wrote on here is my own. I verify that everything is true, and then submit it. And then you should hear back from the college, either depending on the early deadline, you should hear back from them mid-November, and then December, probably mid-December, late December. So yeah, that is the entirety of the written application. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want any more content like this. And I'll be out with part 2 very soon. Bye!